can have a lot on our plate, can't we? And she described a whole lot of ways that we can have a lot on our plate. You know, like whether, you know, you add to that the netball training, you've got to drop your kids at sports practice. Maybe if you're one of the young women in the house, your English essay, your science exam, your YCG, your Connect. So everyone's like, stop. You know, and I look at, there's a whole lot of mamas in the house and you've got your baby, you've got a lot on your plate, right? You feed them, you change them, you put them down, you think I finally have a minute, but nope, you need to feed them, change them, put them down again. We all have a lot on our plate. You know, sometimes like that, get to know your row, there's a whole lot of crazy on our plate. Right? You're looking, there was tweezers, there was glue guns, there were shoehorns, there were nappies. And sometimes you've got to wade your way through to try and find anything that's actually interesting on that plate. It's very true. And the juggle of trying to fit everything on your plate, like Nicholas said, so your plate just gets loaded up and loaded up and then loaded up and you think, oh, it starts to get heavier and heavier and you think, I can't fit any more on that plate. So you grab another plate, which I'm not going to do because not so strong. But then you load up that plate and that plate and that plate. Before you know it, you've got multiple plates, very heavy, very tiring. And you look at it all and you just think, oh, like Nicholas said, how good would it be just to have an empty plate, right? Oh, how relaxing and refreshing it would be just to have an empty plate. But imagine if you sat down at the dinner table. You sat down for dinner and you looked at your plate and it was empty. You'd get pretty hungry, wouldn't you? Imagine if every meal you sat down to, your plate was empty. It wouldn't be very long before you were very hungry. So much so that eventually you would die. So it looks very appealing to have an empty plate, but eventually you would die. Yes, we want to have a balanced meal on our plate. That is true. However, we do not want to have an empty plate entirely. God spoke to me about what to do tonight a few weeks ago. And then God confirmed it on Sunday night through Diana. I don't know if Diana made it tonight. I haven't seen her. Is she here? No. She gave me this word and she drew a picture of it. And it was literally what I was speaking on. I was like, yes, I love it when that happens. And I want to start with what I feel like God has said to me to share tonight, as in what he spoke to me to share with you. What I believe he said to Sarah, okay? So he's saying this to Sarah. It's found in Isaiah 40, verse 1. So he says to me, comfort my people, says your God. So I feel like God said to me to comfort his people. Speak tenderly to Jerusalem. Tell her that her sad days are gone and her sins are pardoned. And it goes, yes, the Lord has punished her twice over for all her sins. But then it goes on. It says, listen, it's the voice of someone shouting. And this is what I believe God has asked me to do tonight. Have a voice of someone shouting. But don't worry, I'm not going to shout at you. I'm going to speak tenderly to you. He's saying, clear the way through the wilderness for the Lord. Make a straight highway through the wasteland for our God. Fill in the valleys and level the mountains and the hills. Straighten the curves and smooth out the rough places. Then the glory of the Lord will be revealed, and all people will see it together. The Lord has spoken. What a mission, right? What a mission I'm on tonight. To comfort you, to speak tenderly to you, but to do all of these things. You know, when you have a lot on your plate, it can feel like you're in a wilderness. It can feel untamed. Wildernesses are untamed. They can feel out of control, vast, confusing, or unmanageable, right? When you have a lot on your plate, it can feel like a wasteland. Wastelands are lonely, uninhabited, uncultivated. They can feel empty and harsh. You can feel neglected or in disrepair. When you have a lot on your plate, you can feel like there are valleys in your life. You can feel like there's areas of lack. I just don't have what it takes, right? I don't have enough resource. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough energy. I don't have the mental capacity. A lack, valleys. When we don't have what it takes, when we have a lot on our plate, they can feel like there's mountains, right? Mountains of overwhelm. Mountains of anxiety. Mountains of laundry. No, only me. I'm going to do my laundry tomorrow. When we have a lot on our plate, it can feel like there's curves. It can feel dizzying. Which way is up, which way left, right? I'm just, going every which way. When we have a lot on our plate, it can feel rough, like there's rough places. And it roughs up against our heart, up against our souls, even in our bodies, right? When we have a lot on our plate, our bodies can feel stressed and tense and tight and exhausted. But tonight, the glory of the Lord, His goodness, wants to be revealed in you. In you. The glory of the Lord wants to be revealed in you. And it's so cool because it says, and other people will see it together. Other people will see the glory in you. So tonight my mission from the Lord is to clear the way, make straight, fill in, level, straighten the curves, smooth out, so the glory of the Lord will be revealed in you. You might be thinking, how on earth is he going to do that? Believe me, I thought the same thing. I thought, man, if we had a collective plate and we all piled our stuff on, that's a pretty big plate. But I feel like God has given me a very simple word that if you will let it sink into your heart and become revelation and truth, not just hear it, like not just let it come in one ear and oh, that was a great night, forgot about it, but you actually let it sink into your heart, become truth and revelation, I actually believe it's going to change your life. And I really believe the glory of God is going to be revealed in you. So the main scripture for tonight, we just started in Isaiah 40 at the start. We're going to flip to the end of Isaiah and verse 28. And he continues by saying this. He says, have you never heard? Have you never understood? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of all the earth. Like, have you ever heard that God is the everlasting God? Like, have you heard that? Yeah? But have you ever understood? Like, he's actually the everlasting God, the creator of all the earth. Like, he never grows weak or weary. Like, have you heard that? Like, have you understood that? No one can measure the depths of his understanding. So, the depths of his understanding. So, his understanding is so deep that he knows what's on every single one of our plates. His understanding is so deep, he understands. He understands what you carry. He understands what you're going through. He understands the mountains, the valleys, the chaos. He understands that. But listen to this. He gives power to the weak. Have you heard that? But have you understood it? He gives power to the weak and strength to the powerless. Man, when we feel powerless to what's on our plate, he gives strength to the powerless. You may have heard it, but have you understood it? This is for the young girls. Even youths will become weak and tired. You guys aren't, you're not, what's the word? You're not exempt from this. And young men or women will fall into exhaustion. And I know that, and I see that. I know the load that you carry at school and the pressure you feel from teachers and parents and having to like always speak respectfully, right? It's a thing. And so, even youth will become weak and tired. But listen to this. This is a verse for tonight. That New Living Translation, which I'm reading here, it says, but those who trust in the Lord will find new strength. They will soar high on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint. So the New Living Translation, it says, those who trust in the Lord will renew their strength. The NIV, New International Version, says those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. The Passion Translation, this is really cool. It says, those who entwine their hearts with Yahweh, which is God, will experience divine strength. That's nice, right? An entwining of the hearts. But pretty much every other translation I looked up actually says, those who wait upon the Lord will renew their strength. The Message says, those who wait upon the Lord will get fresh strength. So that's the Message. The New King James says wait. The King James says wait. The ESV says wait. The Amplified says those who wait, expect, looked for, and hope in the Lord will renew their strength. So how am I going to comfort you and speak tenderly to you tonight and clear the paths and level the mountains and fill in the valleys? I believe what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you, inspire you, compel you, and beg you to wait on the Lord. Beg you to wait on the Lord. So what do you do when you have a lot on your plate? What do you do when you have a lot on your plate? You wait. You wait. What do you do when you have a lot on your plate? You wait. You know, often the word wait can be used in place of stop, right? So when you're at the traffic lights and you're coming up to the traffic lights, you have a little flashing man. If it's red, you stop. You're waiting. You wait to cross. And so wait is often stop. And, we're actually giving these beautiful stickers out on Mother's Day, and this weekend there's a sticker there that says wait, and it's in red. Those who wait, and it's in red. That whole thought of wait, or like, an army in a battle, they're all like, I just watched Lord of the Rings because my mother-in-law, who's here tonight, where are you, Mum? Where are you sitting? They're in New Zealand, so it was only right they went to Hobbiton, and then they watched all 3 Lord of the Rings, and then all 3 Hobbits. And so they are, and there's big battles, and there's like these scenes where it's like, wait, hold, wait. Because if you preempt too soon, you go into battle too soon, it can be disastrous. When you're running a running race, I remember watching my kids when they're running the running race, you're waiting for the gun to fire, wait, and you don't want to have a false start. You have to wait, hold. It's hard though because we're impatient, right? For good reason, because we have a lot on our plate, right? We're impatient because we've got a long list of things to do. So it's not as easy to wait, but Isaiah 40:31, those who wait on the Lord will renew their strength. To be fed, to receive, to renew your strength. Those who wait, not just a grab and go, right? You're sitting down with your plate and you're waiting for a beautiful meal. You're not just grabbing and going, you're waiting. I think of the Israelites who were God's people, and they got set free from captivity in Egypt. And as they were, in the wilderness for 40 years, God fed them. It says in Exodus 16 and verse 4. Did I give you that one? Yes, there it is. It says, then the Lord said to Moses, look, I'm going to rain down food from heaven for you. Each day the people can go out and pick up as much food as they need for that day. I will test them in this to see whether or not they will follow my instructions. So each day, the Israelites were to go out and wait. They would wait for the food that God would provide. And then they would gather it, and then they would eat it. But God's like, don't store it up. Don't store it up, because it will spoil. Each day they had to go out, and they had to wait. They had to wait afresh each day. And then if you flip to the New Testament, I think about how all of, Jesus was teaching on the tops of mountains. And all these people came to listen to Jesus teach. So they all sat down on the ground and they were sitting and they were waiting. They were waiting for his teaching. But how cool, if you read John chapter 6, verse 10 and 11, They were waiting for spiritual food, but here it says here, tell everyone to sit down, Jesus said. So they all sat down on the grassy slopes. The men alone numbered about 5,000. Then Jesus took the loaves, gave thanks to God, and distributed them to the people. Afterward, he did the same with the fish, and they all ate as much as they wanted. So they all sat down to eat. They all sat down to wait for his spiritual teaching. He not only spiritually fed them with his words, the Sermon on the Mount, hello, amazing, but he physically fed them. They waited and they were fed. Then what I love is just you fast forward a couple of verses later in John chapter 6 and verse 35 of the same chapter, Jesus continues to talk. And Jesus replied, I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never be hungry again. Whoever believes in me will never be thirsty. If we come and we wait, Jesus is the bread of life. He feeds us. He makes us whole. Those who wait. But how do you wait? I don't know about you, but so many times when I'm like, okay, I'm waiting. I'm going to wait on you, Lord. And then as I'm waiting and I think I have an empty plate, then the thought of, I need to add that to the grocery list. I'm like, I forgot to tell that person that team needs that. And then I'm waiting. And then I'm like, yeah, but I forgot to take the fish out of the freezer. And then I'm just thinking of all the things that are still on my plate while I'm trying to wait with an empty plate for the Lord to feed me. And so how do you wait? And I think, is it just me or is everybody like, yeah, that's so true? But I just know that there's this prayer that I pray. It's called benevolent detachment. And it says, I give everyone and everything to you, God. So in the process of my waiting, if something else pops into my head, I don't ignore it or be like, I failed waiting. No, I acknowledge it and I think, okay, that's popped into my head. And so I'm going to acknowledge it. And I acknowledge what it is. I give everything. I name it. I give what it is. I give everyone and everything. If it's a person, I give that person to you, Lord. And then I just put it offside. And then if something else pops in, I give everyone and everything to you, Lord. So that answers actually a lot of the process of waiting. Whenever anything pops into your head that's a burden or a worry or something on your list, you just acknowledge it and you give it back to the Lord. And I was thinking about this whole thought of red being stop and wait. And stop and red can be quite a harsh colour, right? But then I was thinking about the fact that for me, I've just this winter have got a new red jumper. Isn't it cute? I was going to take it on and off, but then I have got this on, and so I'm sure Mark would freak out going, she's going to pull it off or she's taking her to go. So I'm not going to put it on right now. But I like to think of a red time of waiting with the Lord where I'm wrapped up in this beautiful red woolen sweater and it's soft and it's cozy and it's like you're just getting hugged in the presence of God. And you're not trying to tick off a list. You're just simply sitting there waiting, trying to be. Not trying to stay strong, not trying to hold it together, not trying to not fall apart, but just waiting. Gianna, who worshipped there today, when we were talking about a whole lot of things, she said this thing, and at the time I was like, that's a bit weird. Hey, Rayma, we were like, that's a bit weird. She goes, wouldn't it be cool if we had a plate, but the plate had clock arrows on it? It was like a clock inside the plate. And Rayma and I were like, yeah. But then the more I've been preparing it, the more I thought, how amazing is that? The thought that we can come to the Lord to wait and we can look at what's on our plate. And if we would just keep saying, I give everyone and everything to you, Lord. And every time we'd look at what's on our plate, we would see it like a clock. And we would know that tick, 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 tick. I'm actually just waiting. And I'm waiting. I'm waiting here for you, God. God never asked you to carry the weight of the world on your own. He never asked you to carry a plate, like Nicholas said, full to overflowing. This is your reminder today to wait, to pause for a moment, to open the Word, to spend time in worship, to sit in His presence. Because it's there that He fills you again. He wraps Himself around you. Because the world can drain you, but that's where God restores restores you, you know. You don't have to carry it on your own. That's where you lay it all down before him. You breathe deeply, you worship, and you let his peace meet you where you're at. We wait for the Lord. You know, I met an 82-year-old pastor a couple of weeks ago, and he's recognized as one of New Zealand's prophets. And I was asked to sit on a panel with him at this conference, and we shared. And then after we spoke, he said, the guy who was running the conference said, now these people are going to prophesy over you all. And I was like, well, okay, yeah, let's do this. And so then for the next 2+ hours, probably 2.5 hours, people would come, would give word after word after word after word after word. And now I'm probably half this guy's age, or a little bit more. And anyway, I was like, whoa, he's going for it. Afterwards, I was sitting with him and we were chatting. And he said to me, he goes, people always ask me, how can I still do that? How do I still have strength to do that? How am I not tired? And I remember one day, this is him talking, I remember one day going home to my wife and saying, people always ask me, how can I still do that, still have the energy and the strength to do that? She said, well, you better go ask God how you can still do it. And so he said he went before the Lord, and the Lord brought him to this passage of Scripture, Isaiah 40, verse 31. And he thought, oh, yes, Lord, I wait on you. That's right. That's why I have the strength to be able to do this. And then he thought, that seems, pretty straightforward. But then the Lord led him to the book of Nehemiah. The Lord said, no, there's more. Go to the book of Nehemiah. And so we're going to just have a look at 2 little verses from Nehemiah. And this is what he read. It says, Nehemiah 1 verse 10, it says, the people you rescued, who's been rescued by the Lord? Anybody? Anyone who's like, yeah, Jesus rescued me from my sin, pulled me out of darkness. Yeah, the people you rescued by your great power and strong hand are your servants. And then we go to one little verse at the very end of Nehemiah chapter 1 verse 11. It says, in those days, I was the king's cupbearer. Now, a cupbearer in those days there was a king, and the cupbearer was someone who would taste the cup, the wine that was served to the king before the king drank it, just to make sure it wasn't poisoned. And the cupbearer was also kind of on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, to anything that the king needed. He was the king's servant. He would make sure he'd drink the wine before, and he was in a really trusted position. And so Nehemiah was the king's cupbearer. Nehemiah was a butler, if you will. Like you think of Downton Abbey, like the butlers. That's like Nehemiah. Or you think of a waiter or a waitress, right? A waiter or a waitress, like just waiting. Nehemiah was like that. He was a waiter, or he waited on the king. And so Pastor Alex, he, read all this, and he's felt like the Lord said to him that, yes, those who wait on the Lord, as in actually stopping, the activity of stopping, the red stopping, and to just be with God, they renew their strength. But also, those who wait, as in serve, are active for the Lord, will renew their strength. So red for stop, green for go. I used to sing a little song like that to my kids. And this actually resonates with me. Now I am going to do a little costume change. Why not? How fun. And because I like the thought that I have this red, big, snuggly jumper where I sit and I wait on the Lord, where it's snug and it's comfy. But then I throw on my green waiter's jacket, and then I'm like waiting on the Lord. I'm waiting on my King. Like, how can I be of service? How can I be of service today, Lord? How can I wait on you? I'm a waitress for the Lord, if you will. I love seeing this with, I spoke about it on Mother's Day weekend, if you're here, with Peter's mother-in-law. There was this guy, Peter, in the Bible, and his mother-in-law was sick. Jesus went and had dinner with them, and he went into Peter's mother-in-law's room, and she was sick. So she's, in essence, laying down in her red jumper, waiting for Jesus to heal her. So Jesus touches her, she's healed, and then what does she do? She jumps up, puts on her waitress's thing, and how can I serve you? And she makes a meal for Jesus. I love that. She waited and then she waited. Wait as in a waitress. We serve. We are on call for the King. We're alert to what he is requiring of us. How may I be of service, my Lord? You might be thinking that I'm just talking about serving in church or, serving in ministry. And can I just say the Bible promises that he who refreshes others will himself be refreshed. So if you do serve in the house of God, you do serve in sort of Christian ministry, you will be refreshed, you will be renewed. But I'm speaking about so much more than that. Come with me to Colossians 3, verse 17, and then 23 and 24. I'm reading in the Passion Translation. It says this, let every activity, in the Aramaic, it says commitment, of every activity or every commitment of your lives and every word that comes from your lips be drenched in the beauty of our Lord Jesus, the Anointed One. And then it says in Colossians 3:23, put your heart and soul into every activity you do, as though you are doing it for the Lord himself and not merely for others. For we know we will receive a reward and inheritance from the Lord as we serve the Lord. Waiting on the Lord isn't just serving in church. It's everything we do. Everything we do. I was washing dishes today. I was like, who loves washing dishes? Not really me. Anyway, I was washing the dishes and I thought, am I doing this in this moment unto the Lord? Because if I am, then this is service. And if I am and I'm waiting on the Lord, then I'm going to renew my strength. So I washed that plate. The best I've ever washed it. It was unto the Lord. If I'm changing nappies and I'm doing it unto the Lord, I'm like, you know what? This is an important thing. I'm doing this unto you, Lord. I'm just wiping that bum. I'm just wiping that. Unto you, Lord. The Lord will renew your strength, if you do it unto the Lord. It's service to him. If you're writing that essay or you're doing your assessments or you're actually doing your homework and you're like, this feels like such a chore, but you're actually like, I'm doing this, Lord. Like I'm actually doing this as if you asked me to do it. You will renew your strength because you are waiting on the Lord. It's service to him. The key is to look at what's on your plate and rummage through and make sure that everything on that plate is unto the Lord. Where we get overwhelmed and where we have lack and the valleys and all the things I talked about at the beginning is when the things that are on our plate are not unto the Lord. He hasn't asked us to do it, like Nicholas said. He's not requiring it of us. But if you look through everything that's on your plate and you think, no, actually, that's unto the Lord, that's unto the Lord, that's unto the Lord, then he will renew your strength to be able to carry that well. We need to check in on our plate and see if it's a balanced, Jesus-approved meal. Right? I mean, I know sometimes I look at what my kids, eat and drink, and I'm like, that's not like a friend to your destiny. Some of the youth people have heard me say that to them often when they're like drinking their energy drinks and things like that. But I feel like sometimes, sorry, I'm just cleaning up my laundry. Sometimes I feel like Jesus must look at our plate and go, that's not a very balanced meal, very balanced diet. Why have you got that energy drink on? I mean, I'm not just hating on energy drinks. But like, why have you got that KFC? And I'm not just hating on KFC, but hey. You know what I mean? But like, you get the point. Like, is Jesus looking at it going, that's a balanced meal? Is it unto the Lord? We've got these beautiful stickers that we gave out on Mother's Day, and if you missed out, we'll have some more here for you today. And on those stickers, I just love it that Rayma was just like moving ahead of time, and we have the sticker, the green sticker that says the one that says those who wait, and then the red one that says those who wait. And the two of these are really, really important, right? Because you might be thinking, how do I figure out what's on my plate and if it's Jesus-approved meal, if it's unto the Lord? Like, it's just too confusing, right? Because we're talking about the curves and the chaos and the overwhelm. It's like, how do I even figure that out? Well, the way to figure out your plate is the red, right? You wait. You sit and you be with Jesus, and that's when he speaks to you and he tries to help guide you and direct you and how to do that. And then the truth is, it's like a cycle that even after we wait on the Lord with our green activity, we serve him, we then need to wait on the Lord. The red, we need to stop. We need a green, we need to go. We need to stop, we need to stop, we need to go. We need to wait. It's this beautiful rhythm, right? And that's why we have this last sticker that you'll see. It's beautiful. It's like this blend of, add a little white to red, you get pink. Woo! And then green in the middle. But it's this beautiful blend of you're waiting on the Lord, and you're waiting on the Lord, and you're waiting on the Lord, and you're waiting in the Lord. And, for me, I preached, we've had a pretty full few days, and I preached on Mother's Day, and I came in here early on Monday morning, before everybody else here got here. I was going up, and I was like, I'm going to get a head start while it's quiet on my message for She. Like, God had given it to me, but I hadn't really, fleshed it all out. Got here early and I just popped my head in the auditorium. I was the first one here, opening lights, and it was all dark in here, and we just had there was 2 pink lights glowing, and I was like, oh wow, it feels so peaceful and so beautiful in there, and it's like this beautiful, the afterglow of Sunday, and it just felt amazing, and I popped my head and I was like, oh, how beautiful, and I turned away to walk away, and I just felt like God says, will you wait with me? Like, I just served him the day before and poured out in my green waiter's coat, but I was so quick to go, okay, how can I serve you again next? How can I prepare what's next? He says, no, will you wait with me? So I was able to come in here and just spend time on my own in this beautiful, sacred space. But don't we all do that? Like with our plate, it's like, oh, I serve, unto the Lord the kids, unto the Lord the work, unto the Lord, the school, the husband, or all the things, but we're not actually waiting, coming away and waiting on him. He just wants to be with us. The other thing I was thinking about how, once we've poured out and we've waited on the Lord in our green, and we've poured out, then often we're a little weary, we're a little tired. And then what do you do when you feel like that? What do you go to wait on? Often it's so easy after you've done that just to revert to, I wait on Netflix to refresh me, or I wait on romantic novels to refresh me, or I wait on reels to refresh me, or I wait on a nap, and we think, all of these different things, which aren't bad, but we think that's going to refresh our spirit and our soul, but we're often left still feeling tired. A physical nap will help with your physical and even your emotional exhaustion, but there's a deeper weariness that only Jesus and the Spirit of God can meet, which is why we need to wait on him. Okay, I'm going to get the team to come and join me as I introduce you, if you haven't met, my dog. I haven't brought her today. Everyone's like, oh, there's a photo of her though, and this was just on Sunday. It's not a very great photo of me, but I got home from church on Sunday and I'm in my green jacket, and she runs to the door and she's in her little green hoodie, and she's a cute little teddy bear dog, and she's so sweet, and she's just moving so much you can hardly get her. She's just so excited, so you can move that, because I'm just like, that's a lot of me going on, so let's move that. It's a great photo. That's how much joy she brings me. Her name's Cotton, and she's super cute. And anyway, so yesterday I was upstairs, and I was preparing this, and I was thinking and praying, and I was like, Cotton, Mum and Dad were out, and the rest of the family were out. I'm like, Cotton, where are you? Couldn't find her. And then anyway, I just, kept doing, and then I went to go to bed, and I thought, where is she? So when I went all the way down the stairs, we've got quite a few stairs down, and she was sitting down at the, right down towards where the door is, waiting for the rest of the family to come home. But it was cold. It's got real cold. And it was really cold down there in comparison to the rest of the house. And I was like, what are you doing waiting down here in the cold? And anyway, I picked her up, and she was shivering. She had a little jacket on and everything, but she was still shivering. And then I was like, oh, I feel so bad, you're so cold. And anyway, so I grabbed her, I carried upstairs, and I was already in my PJs, and I climbed into bed, and I pulled her into bed with me, and I hugged her tight, and she was still shaking. I'm like, oh no, is she going to die? Do I need to take her to the vet? I don't want to pay, it costs too much. So I was like, no, it's fine if I just hold her and if I just let her be and I keep her warm. And then slowly after a while, her breathing slowed and she stopped shaking and she just rested and fell asleep. And I mean, she was still waiting. The others hadn't come home yet. She was still waiting, but she was waiting somewhere so different. She wasn't waiting down in the cold. She was waiting where she was embraced and it was warm. And she just stopped shaking and shivering and freezing and breathing, and she relaxed. And I just believe we can be like that. That, we've got a lot on our plate and we're waiting for the whatever it is, we're waiting for something, but we find ourselves waiting in places that we're still shaking and we're still cold and we're still breathing or we're still anxious and we're still overwhelmed. And when we wait on the Lord, like the red weight, it's like we put on that big red cuddly jumper. It's like someone bigger than you just grabs you and brings you on in, and you're still waiting. There's still a lot there, but he just holds you and your breathing slows and your body starts shaking. You start to release that tension and he renews you. You wait on the Lord. He renews your strength. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to have a time of ministry where you can just come to the altar, and there's a line in the song that says, the Father's arms are open wide. And this moment is less about you like singing and engaging in worship, and it's more about you just waiting on the Lord. It's more about you just practicing what I said. When stuff comes into your mind, just say, God, I give that to you. I'm just waiting here on you. When something else comes into your mind, God, I give that to you. I just want to wait here on you. I want to sense your love, your peace, I want you to renew me, refresh me, renew me. So why don't you stand to your feet? Some of you've been trying so hard to stay strong, holding it all together, trying not to fall apart, trying not to crumble under the load that's on your plate or the overwhelm or the anxiety. But Jesus is saying, hey, come wait on me and you'll renew your strength. So as we sing this song, I want to encourage you, you literally can come to the altar. If you need to step out of your seat and just actually no, Jesus, I need to come. I need you to meet me in this moment. Maybe you might need to raise your hands or kneel or just wrap your arms around yourself like this and just be with your Father God. So come on, why don't you close your eyes and bow your heads? If you know that you need this, if you know that, I actually know I need, in this moment, I need to wait on God. I need to stop. I just need to stop. I feel like saying to you, stop it. Just stop and wait.